Good morning and welcome. My name is Michael Balsoni, and I have the privilege of being the principal of Apple Valley High School, a STEM school dedicated to academics, arts, and athletics. In addition to our audience today in the gymnasium, we are live streaming this event to friends and family all over the world. Our annual Veterans Day ceremony was started under the leadership of our former principal, Stephen Degenar, and it is my honor to continue this tradition and MC today's event. Along with many of you, I share connections to the United States military. My grandfather served in the Coast Guard on the USS Muskogee, a ship that saw combat in the South Pacific during World War II. My father served as a medic in the U.S. Army Reserve, and my father-in-law was a proud member of the U.S. Marines. This is a special day at Apple Valley High School. You will notice the tone and the mood of this assembly are different from other school events. Today, we recognize the core values of honor, sacrifice, and dignity. We want to give special thanks to the many veterans and active duty military personnel who are our guests of honor this morning. At this time, I ask all the veterans and active duty military personnel to please stand if they are able and be recognized. It is now time for the posting of the colors, presented by the Apple Valley American Legion, Post 1776. Everyone, please stand at this time. Please join the Valley Select Chorale as we sing our national anthem under the direction of Mr. Joel Byer.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free
Thank you. You may now be seated. I would like to introduce a few special guests who will be speaking today. Many of you know our Apple Valley student speakers, Colton Pearson, Trey Jones, and Lauren Scott. Our keynote speaker this morning is Sergeant Derek Brown of the United States Army. Also joining us on stage as honored guests are Superintendent Jane Behrens and School Board Member Sachin Isaacs. Let's give them a warm Apple Valley welcome. Please join me in welcoming Colton Pearson to the podium. Colton has enlisted in the United States Marines and reports for duty in June. Colton will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you are able.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Colton. At this time, we will hear another song by the Valley Select Chorale titled Long Walk to Freedom by Christopher Ozpaz, text by Nelson Mandela. Mr. Byer.
I have walked that long road to freedom. I have tried not to falter. I have made missteps along the way. But I've discovered the secret that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb.
I have walked
Thank you to Mr. Byer and the Valet Select Chorale. Many of you here today belong to families who have long traditions of military service. This morning, we are fortunate to have two students who are willing to share a little of their history and their experiences with you. Please welcome our first student speaker, 11th grader Trey Jones, to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Balsoni, AVHS Eagles, community members, and most importantly, veterans and active military members who are here today. Veterans Day is important to me because of one man I loved and respected deeply, my grandpa. Veterans, I am sure that your service to our country taught you many things that shaped you into the person you are today. Maybe disciplined, courageous, strong, loyal. The military helped shape who my grandpa was, and in turn, my grandpa helped shape my entire family, and that has left a lasting impact on us all. My grandpa, Dennis Deutsch, was a paratrooper in the Army, part of the 11th Airborne and 187th Infantry. A paratrooper is a soldier who jumps out of planes straight onto the battlefield. When I think about my grandpa jumping out of airplanes, I am proud. Because I believe with each jump he took, he added to his character and became the person I respect and admire deeply. There are three things my grandpa learned while he served as a paratrooper for our country that I aspire to have in my character. One of the things my grandpa learned was to not take any shortcuts. Paratroopers are considered by the Army to be an elite group of soldiers who demonstrate determination and courage. There are no shortcuts in training to be an airborne soldier, because when it comes time to jump, there's only one way out of that plane. My grandpa would tell story after story about all the difficult training he had to go through in order to serve our country. He had to do like 10,000 push-ups and 5,000 jumping jacks all before breakfast. Well, at least that was his story. His preparation from his days as a paratrooper also prepared him for life. He was dedicated to whatever he got involved with and continued to never take any shortcuts. My grandpa always encouraged his kids to work hard for what they wanted and not to take the easy way out. He routinely asked if they had gotten their work done and their workouts in. My grandpa was extremely proud of his children and grandchildren. The second trait my grandpa gained as a paratrooper was a commitment to be all in, no matter the circumstances. My grandpa was the toughest and bravest man I knew. As a paratrooper, once he made up his mind to jump out of the plane, there was no going back. He was all in. He did hundreds of jumps during his time in the service until he ultimately suffered a broken ankle on a mission in Germany. But he always told my grandma if he had been given the opportunity to jump again, he would have. But for my grandpa, being all in wasn't only for when he served in the military. With my family, he was also all in. No matter if it was a school event, sporting event, or family gathering, he would be there. The fall of my 8th grade year, my grandpa was hospitalized for his final time. He hadn't missed any of my football games up to that point. He begged the nurses to let him out of the hospital just for a couple of hours so he could come watch my football game. That just goes to show how important it was for him to be at everything, no matter how big or how little it was. He was always all in for my entire family. Lastly, my grandpa taught me to respect those who have worked hard and fought for me. My grandpa held the military and all that the military stood for in the highest regard. He was proud to fight for our country, but he was extremely proud that he was part of the 11th Airborne Division. He wore his 11th Airborne hat everywhere. Even when we would try to buy him a new one, he always came back to his favorite, the one he wore with the most pride. My grandpa loved striking up a conversation with anyone who would comment on his hat and his experience as a paratrooper. He enjoyed talking about his time in the service and respected people who thanked him and appreciated what he did. Even in the tough times dealing with his health issues, he always fought hard and remained strong. All the times he could have given up and stopped fighting, his toughness wouldn't let him. His will to be around and see his children and grandchildren was something he fought for. With all the things he went through, he would rarely complain. It makes me appreciate and respect the many people who have fought and who still fight for all of us and our freedoms, like my grandpa did. November 13th, 2013 was one of the toughest days of my life when I lost my grandpa. Knowing I wouldn't get another day or another minute with the man who meant so much to me hurt a lot. Although he is not here in person today, I am confronted by the idea that that veteran, that paratrooper, my grandpa, is still looking down on our great country today. I hope to do as he did and take no shortcuts and be all in, and respect those who have worked hard and fight for what we have in this country. I know that no matter where I am in life, big events or small, my grandpa, the paratrooper at heart, will always have the bestie in the house. Thank you.
Trey, I fondly remember you as a middle school student attending all those events with your grandfather, and we miss him too, and that was a fantastic tribute. Thank you. Next, I would like to bring 12th grader Lauren Scott to the podium as our second student speaker.
Good morning, students, faculty, parents, and veterans. My name is Lauren Scott, and I am a senior here at Apple Valley High School. Today, I would like to tell you about one of the most influential people in my life, my brother, Lance Corporal Matthew Scott. We are live streaming this assembly to my brother on base in North Carolina, as he could not be here today. Matthew joined the Marines almost 2 years ago, following in the footsteps of my grandfathers, who were both in the Navy, and my father, who was in the Air Force. Matthew has 2 jobs that he is trained for in the Marines. He is a tank mechanic and a small arms gun coach. This job requires him to be on base training other Marines from different units and other bases across the U.S. This job also requires him to be on base a lot of the time, and having him gone so much is something my family, like many others, has had to adjust to. After 6 months of not seeing him, Matthew will return home next month for Christmas. My brother is influential to me because he always pushes me to do what's right and to follow my dreams. My brother overcame so much to follow his dream, which was to serve in our United States military. Matthew is not only my brother, but my best friend, and has always been one of my biggest supporters, and continuously motivates me to always go that extra mile to see my hard work pay off. When Matthew was in boot camp, I became aware that everyone in my family's lives had changed. But it wasn't for the worse, it was for the better, because he's doing what he loves. And I am so proud to say that my brother is a United States Marine. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. We are so happy to be able to stream this assembly live online so that your brother can watch live from Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. We're thankful for the ability to bring military families together on a special day like this, and we know folks are watching all over the world. Well done, Lauren and Trey. Thank you. These messages from our students remind me of just how connected we all are by the common thread of military service to our country, past and present. Almost everyone in the gym this morning knows of someone who is currently serving or has had past military experience. At this time, I invite all students with a grandparent, a parent, a guardian, a relative, a friend, serving our country right now or in the past, to stand and be recognized. Thank you. We will now hear from Mr. Dazens and the Apple Valley High School Wind Ensemble as they perform American Elegy, arranged by Frank Tikelly. Thank you, Mr. Dazens and students. That was very beautiful and appreciated. This year's Veterans Day address comes to us from Derek P. Brown, Sergeant in the United States Army. Earlier this year, we invited Sergeant Brown to deliver an excellent message to our football team. We are honored to have him back today to continue that message with us. Sergeant Brown.
Good morning, good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, general officers, veterans, thank you for having me. Thank you for being here with me to pay tribute to our veterans and to reflect on all they make possible in America. Today is a day of tribute and reflection, but also, and perhaps most importantly, of celebration. Veterans Day is a triumph of all those who served and keep us free and continue to do so today. I'm going to share a little bit about a veteran bond. You see, veterans are a part of a uniquely American collective. Wherever America or her interests have been threatened, men and women from across this great nation have risen to her defense. Whenever our freedoms have come under assault, we've responded with strength and purpose and resolve. Each of our veterans, along with their families, sacrificed to serve that sacred pact between warrior and society that all of us hold so clear. Over the past 14 years, not all of our soldiers have fought in Iraq and Afghanistan. They, however, have supported the fight. They all have preserved our freedoms, and they all have done so much more for our national cause. They have deployed from home places such as Kuwait, Egypt, and Cameroon. They have served in South Korea, Turkey, and Qatar. They have trained long and hard with home station installations across this country to be ready whenever our nation calls. They, too, are a part of this collective that safeguards our freedom. There's something else. Veterans also understand combat's lasting impact in a way others do not. We know that this Veterans Day, we have soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines still recovering in hospitals from the wounds in which they live for the rest of their lives. We know that this weekend, parents, spouses, and children will grieve their soldiers who did not return. The effort of the American veteran to come to terms with the loss of fellow service members and haunting memories, to readjust to life in the United States, to recover from lingering physical and psychological wounds is one we share together. We all process and experience combat differently, but we must join one another in that experience. We must be there for one another. That shared knowledge is the bond we live with, not only on Veterans Day, but every day. That hollow connection remains throughout this year, throughout the rest of our lives. Now I would like to share a story from the 2nd Cavalry Regiment baseball glove story. When I think of this bond, I think of a baseball glove. There's an incredible story that Colonel John Meyer, the current commander of the 2nd Stryker Cavalry Regiment stationed in Germany, tells of a very old baseball glove that passed through 2 hands of 2 American veterans. The story is even more remarkable given the fact that these veterans have never met. This spring, Meyer's troops rolled into Prague in the Czech Republic as a part of their mission to reassure NATO allies in Europe. The soldiers were approached by a 78-year-old man who was overcome with emotion to see American soldiers in his hometown for the first time since World War II. He handed the soldiers a fielder's baseball glove. The glove was an old 5-fingered model with a pancake pocket, the kind that have fathers and coaches of another era teaching their kids to catch with 2 hands. The Czech man told the American soldiers that the glove was given to him as an 8-year-old boy by the GIs who came to liberate his hometown from the Nazis 70 years earlier. During World War II, a GI handed the man, then an 8-year-old boy, a glove and taught him how to catch a baseball. When it was time for the American soldiers to leave the area, the boy tried to give the glove back, but the GI told the boy to give the glove to the next American soldier he saw. He had been waiting 70 years. That glove now sits in the 2nd Cavalry's Regimental Museum, passed from one veteran to another throughout acts of kindness, a testament of the bond between our veterans. May we refrain from forever bonded by our service and forever indebted to one another's service. In our actions, in our words, in our hearts, we must always be there for one another. Today we celebrate that bond, that service, which has preserved this country's freedom and our way of life. Whether you fought in our nation's wars or worked hand in hand with our nation allies, preserving the peace, whether you are a National Guardsman, reservist, or an active duty soldier, you have given us security, you have given us prosperity, you have given us the greatest nation on earth. And now I'm going to close. While we have worked to do our civil-military relationship, we have so much to be proud of and so much to celebrate. While Memorial Day is a time of silence, Veterans Day is a day of triumph. Today, let us cover ourselves in joy and festivity for all of our veterans and all the things that they do for us. Veterans, I ask you to stand. Thank you. These brave men and women represent not only themselves, but all of our living veterans. They represent those who have served in places such as the city of Anzano, the beaches of Normandy, the deserts of Africa, the mud fields of Okinawa, the jungles of Panama, and the plateau valleys of Somalia. Let us remember those who are deployed in service of our country today. Let us remember those who, because they paid the ultimate sacrifice, are not with us. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause for all of our veterans. Thank you. Now let us celebrate our veterans and the liberties that they ensure. Thank y'all for having me, Apple Valley High School staff. I really appreciate this opportunity and moment. That's all I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sergeant Brown's keynote address reminds us of the important values of our country. Our veterans everywhere have protected these values, and it is important to say thank you for their years of service to our country. Thank you again, Sergeant Brown, for such a powerful message. At this time, I would like to bring Mr. Bill Blatzheim to the stage for the Armed Forces Salute. This is always a highlight and celebration in our program. Mr. Blatzheim.
Thank you, Mr. Bolsoni. Thank you to everyone who's shared a message with us today, and thank you, of course, to all of our veterans and active duty military personnel that are here today. In the years that we've been doing this, this is my absolute favorite part of our program, and it's the Armed Forces Salute. And this is where we pay tribute to the men and women who, throughout the ages of American history, during the performance, we will play all 5 theme songs from the United States Army, the Coast Guard, the Marines, the Air Force, and the Navy. To honor the veterans and the active duty military personnel who are here with us this morning, we ask that you please stand when you hear your song played. Mr. Dazens. The United States Army. The United States Coast Guard. The United States Marine Corps. The United States Air Force. The United States Navy. Thank you, Mr. Dazens and the Wind Ensemble.
All right, thank you, Mr. Blatzheim. Today, Apple Valley High School is proud to pay tribute to the men and women who, throughout the ages of American history, have abandoned personal comforts, left their family and friends, sacrificed individual futures, and put their own lives on the line for the promise and potential of freedom. Today, we pay tribute to the men and women of the military who have stood proudly when world circumstances dictated that America needed those willing and able to enter the fray of battle. The choice to serve is the choice to willingly put your life on the line, and some soldiers, sadly, never make it back home. Let us honor all the fallen military men and women with a table of remembrance ceremony followed by a moment of silence. During the moment of silence, taps will be played by two Apple Valley High School trumpet players. It is appropriate to stand when TAPS begins, if you are able. At this time, please welcome Captain James Jagow to narrate the Table of Remembrance, followed by a moment of silence as we honor all the fallen men and women in our military. Captain James Jagow.
Ladies and gentlemen, off to my right, please direct your attention to the center of our gathering. You may have noticed a table set before you. It is filled with symbolism. I will explain. This table is set for our prisoners of war and those missing in action from all wars. Today, there are approximately 86,000 prisoners of war and missing in action veterans. They are not with us today. Their chairs are empty, but saved for their hope return. Let us remember their absence. Let us remember the United States Air Force. Let us remember the United States Army. Let us remember the United States Navy. Let us remember the United States Marine Corps. Let us remember the United States Coast Guard. Let us remember the United States Merchant Marines and the military civilians that are still missing in action. Let us remember the men and women prisoners of wars from all branches of the service that are too often forgotten. Let us remember them. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms, so their children could remain free. Remember. The lone candle symbolizes the frailty of a prisoner alone, trying to stand up against his oppressors. Remember. The black ribbon on the candle reminds us of those who will not be coming home. Remember. The single red rose reminds us of the loved ones and their families of our comrades in arms who keep the faith and await their return. Remember. A slice of lemon is on the bread plate to remind us of their bitter fate. If we do not bring them home, remember. There is salt on the plate, symbolic of the family's tears as they wait and remember. The glasses are inverted. They cannot toast with us tonight, maybe tomorrow, if we remember. The red, white, and blue ribbon is tied to the flower vase by a yellow ribbon that was worn by thousands who waited their return. Remember. The Bible represents the strength gained through faith in our country, founded as one nation under God, to sustain those lost from our midst. Remember. As we look upon this empty table, do not remember ghosts from the past. Remember our comrades. Remember those whom we depended on in battle. They depend on us to bring them home. Remember our friends. They are the ones we love who love life and freedom as we do. They will remember us. Please honor and remember them. As the candle is extinguished, let us transfer its flame into our hearts. And remember them. The cadets you saw today were Cadet First Lieutenant Alexander Shaglowski, Cadet Chief Master Sergeant Ethan Connor, Cadet First Lieutenant Courtney Rogat, Cadet Senior Airman Caleb Bonahum, and Cadet Chief Master Sergeant Kyle Williamson. Please remember.
You may be seated. Echo Taps was just performed by trumpet players Jonah Bankston and Trevor O'Keefe. Thank you, Jonah and Trevor. Thank you to Captain James J. Gow and his cadets for narrating and performing this ceremony for us. Today, there are more than 24 million living veterans. They are among our finest citizens. On Veterans Day, we honor their solemn pledge and uphold their legacy by teaching younger generations about their role in securing the blessings of liberty. I want to thank you all for everything you have done to secure our freedoms and liberties. I also want to thank today Sergeant Brown, Trey Jones, Colton Pearson, and Lauren Scott, the Apple Valley American Legion Post 1776, the Apple Valley Wind Ensemble, the Valley Select Chorale, and the Apple Valley Student Council for all these folks have done to make this a very special event. And finally, thank you to all the Twin City area veterans and active duty personnel who have come to Apple Valley today. You are all our heroes. We are coming to a close to end this ceremony. I would like to ask all the floor guests to stay seated until the students have left the gym. We will dismiss the student body in sections, not all at once, so students, please wait for my cue. Students, your behavior this morning has been outstanding. I want to thank you for demonstrating the values of our Valley Vision. Eagle Pride is alive and well. Thank you.